Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. My name is Steph and today we're going to be chatting about my 5-star reads from 2022. If you've been looking for some book recommendations, I wanted to compile this video to describe to you some of my favorite books from 2022. Now, I read over 300 books last year. There are a lot of books out there that I've really enjoyed. Had a lot of 4-star reads, but I wanted to exclusively focus on the 5-star reads that I had this past year. So I hope that you find a new book to love from this video. If you have read any of these, be sure to let me know in the comments. 24 books total, so I'm just going to say a little bit about each of these books so this video doesn't go on forever. If you like this video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. Without further ado, let's get started. First one up is a popular trilogy, young adult, fantasy, romance, all the things. This is the Prison Healer series. Now, you might have seen this around. Can't say enough good about it. I don't want to spoil anything. We start off in a prison setting. This girl who's been wrongfully put in prison. She is in charge of healing people in the prison, but she also has this alliance with the prison warden. Nobody else really trusts her because they don't want to give her information that she's going to pass on to the warden. She's kind of in this very lonely job. She has a small assistant with her who's a cute, adorable little kid. She's in charge of greeting everyone who comes in through the prison, knowing what a hard life it is and what a challenge it is to be in this prison. She ends up in this kind of trial situation where there are 4 trials, and each of them are inspired by elements: a water, fire, air, and earth challenge. Water, earth, fire, air. So she has these trials to face. She's dealing with the animosity from a lot of other inmates and wondering about her family on the outside of the prison and wondering if she's ever going to see them again. So we have all these great dynamics, captivating, fascinating series. This just makes me want to read this series all over again and read more by this author. So I cannot recommend this series enough. If you're looking for young adult, just kisses and just a really great story, keeps you on the edge of your seat for this whole trilogy. Definitely something worth checking out. Next one is totally different. This is nonfiction, which is not usually my genre. I think seriously every woman could benefit from reading this book. It's called Breaking Free of Body Shame. I listened to it on audio, digested it piece by piece, and just felt like so much of it resonated with me. We consume content on social media or commercials, magazines, pictures, music, videos. It just like hit me in a good spot. Does it make sense? Really resonated with me. It talks about the different images and messages we get subconsciously or what we're told from other people growing up about comments about our bodies, comments about our appearance, or that we have to look a certain way in order to be accepted or perceived as beautiful. It sounds heavy, but it's something that just made me feel seen and made me feel like, yes, we need to all have this message. Just shout it to the world and embrace who we are. And I loved it. And it was so good. That made it probably sound cheesier than it is. It's really good and just really worth reading. I loved it. Definitely think you should check it out. Next up, we have Her Unsuitable Match by Sally Britton. I love Sally's writing. She's so good. She's so talented. And this was the story of a scarred war veteran who comes home from the war, kind of feels a little bit lost, a little bit out of place, ends up being kind of pulled in by a friend to this rally event to support veterans. And he meets this beautiful young woman who totally seems like out of his league. She loves getting to know him. She loves that he's more chill, not arrogant or conceited like a lot of the other guys in her social class. And this is just such a sweet, beautiful romance. And I don't know, there's something about people who kind of have to work through healing and acceptance of themselves as well as finding a way forward. Beautiful story. Loved it. Just can't recommend it enough. Sally's writing is phenomenal. I've read a lot of her other books, and this one last year was just, it was phenomenal and I loved it. So I'm sharing it with you here. Next one we have is Lore Olympus by Rachel Smith. I love Hades and Persephone stories, so this unique retelling is just awesome. The graphic art is beautiful. I first read the webtoons version and then I was excited that they were creating this book version. There are now, 4 volumes of this book out, or the 4th one is coming out. Love the art, love the story. It's such a unique retelling and really entertaining to read. If you like mythology or if you kind of find it hard to get into mythology, I feel like this is a super accessible way to be a part of that. Trigger warning, there is sexual assault in here. I think it's handled in a way that gives dignity to the victim and it gives a good focus on healing and mental health and taking care of your mental health. It's not the main focus of the story. I don't think it's a super graphic demonstration. We see more of her emotions demonstrated on the page than anything explicit on the page. So I hope that helps. Just want to put that out there. But I really think the content is great. The story is great. and the development of the characters, especially Hades and Persephone. We had the epitome of grumpy sunshine, and it's wonderful, and I love it. So definitely loved it, 5 stars. Next, we have All That Really Matters. This is by Nicole Deese. This is a great story. I'm trying to think, because I read this early on in 2022, and it really stuck with me as something that was so good. We start off with this influencer. She does makeup, beauty products, and she ends up trying to do some volunteer work and gets involved with this foster home. The guy who owns the foster home, he wants nothing to do with her. He appreciates the help, and he desperately needs the help on his staff, but he really is hesitant to take her on because he's worried that she's going to be a shallow influence on developing minds. They have a lot of teenagers and young adults, college-age students in this home, and he really is trying to set a good example of how to help them finish their school degree, start a career, get a path going for them as they move into adulthood. He starts to realize that there's a lot more to her than meets the eye. She starts to realize there's more to that and also kind of develop that within herself. We also get to learn more about him and why he's the grump and why he's a little bit bitter towards her. So we really get to see a fantastic development, not only in their relationship, a great romance. We also see a really great social justice theme of foster care and caring for those in need and looking outside of ourselves. Fantastic themes, fantastic story, loved it, and had to give it 5 stars. Another 5-star read is Turn to Me by Becky Wade. This is another one that was so good. We had the grumpy sunshine thing going on. This is the end of a trilogy. It could be read as a standalone. Luke, main male character in this story, he had something traumatic happen during his lifetime and he lost his brother. Due to the events surrounding that, it really shaped and impacted him as he grew up. He ended up in prison for a time, and now he's out of prison. He's doing some volunteer work at a local shelter for animals. Our main female character is supervisor of this clinic. Her father was in prison. His friendship with her father ends up leading him to volunteer at this clinic. He's trying to find a way, now that he's out of prison, to make a life for himself and find his way forward. We have a great romance as well as a great mystery in this story. This author's really good at writing suspense stories and kind of figuring something out. There's this mystery attached with her father, who has passed away in prison, and Luke is there to kind of help bridge that gap, deliver one last message to her, as well as work with her at this clinic. Great forced proximity, great grumpy sunshine, and all the feels, all the PTSD, moving on, experiences that you need to heal from. It's so good. I loved it. And definitely can't recommend it enough. Next, we have To Tame a Cowboy. This is another one where we have PTSD, but this is because this character, he didn't tell his family he was signing up for the Civil War, and he just went off to war due to the horrendous tragedies and horrible violence that he witnessed, horrible living conditions he had for so long. At the end of the previous book, his older brother comes and meets him at the hospital, makes sure he recuperates, and brings him to their ranch out west. So they're living on this cattle ranch, trying to find his own space, his own identity. He's living with his brother who's married and they have a family. He kind of feels like he's not fitting in. He doesn't have a place. This healing process occurs for him very, very slowly over time with the patience and love of his family, as well as his love for horses. He kind of feels like people don't always get him, but he knows how to relate to horses. He knows how to work with animals. And slowly we see this woman come into town. Her father is a vet, and she wants to set out on her own, be independent. Not everyone really respects a female veterinarian, so she's working hard to kind of prove herself. And the two end up forming an unlikely rapport with one another that very quickly becomes a romantic relationship. So it's so good. Love the journey of healing. It really is just such a beautiful story. Next is Love Remains by Sarah Eden. This was a reread for me, so I'm not going to talk about too long, but I love this story. Great enemies to lovers. The main female character is blind in the story, and she is also a tutor for the blind. She's teaching them how to adapt and be independent within their living situation and their surroundings. I love this story. Love it. It gets me in the feels every time, and it's so good. Next, we have Heart in the Highlands. This story I have seen raved about for so long on Bookstagram. I finally read it this year, and it was so good. Scottish romance. I'm gonna make a video about Scottish romances someday soon, because there's so many good ones out there, so many. If you like Outlander but don't want the steam, then this is a book for you. A second chance romance, marriage and trouble romance, all these things, and it is so, so good. Definitely worth checking out. Next, we have Love on Camera. Oh, this book and this series is so good. Friends to lovers, forced proximity. She is a photographer. He is a business owner, coder, that kind of thing. This is also a brother's best friend romance. This is called the Wonder Boy series because the main girl, Maddie, her older brother has these 3 other friends, and the 4 of them adopted her as the person they're going to look out for and always protect. And little does Kit know that one of his best friends, Oliver, has been secretly in love with Maddie, our main character. She has made a bet with one of her coworkers that she's going to be able to go out on these dates and get out more. She really doesn't want to, so she basically asks her brother's friends to just go on these fake dates with her instead. Then, of course, these forced proximity situations start to happen. Romance starts to blossom. Feelings are denied until they can be denied no longer. So this is such a great book and definitely a series I would recommend. Next up, Falling for the Cowgirl. Love this author. Love this story. She is independent, sassy, the only girl in a family of boys. She's very rough around the edges. It's not your traditional girl, so a lot of guys don't know what to do with her independence and her fieriness, but this guy does. The guy she is head to head with has been away for a few years, and he comes back and he realizes that she is not the little kid who he left. She is now growing into a woman, and he's like, oh my gosh, she's beautiful, I love her, but no, I can't be in love with her because I have a job to do and I have to focus on my job. Definitely recommend it. Such an entertaining cowboy western romance story, which is funny because it's not my main preferred genre, but I have 2 on this list by the same author and they're phenomenal. So basically you can't go wrong with them. Next we have The Deadly Shallows. If you like complex mysteries with romance and a lot of interwoven stories that are easy to read, easy to follow, but also really intricate, definitely pick this one up. It was phenomenal. And the chapters are super short. So basically you feel like a speed reader because like 10 pages in, you've already read like 3 chapters. It's great. And you get viewpoints of the bad guy in the story, but of course you don't know who it is. It's written in such a way it keeps you on the edge of your seat. I definitely need to read more by this author. This is another nonfiction. I don't read a lot of nonfiction, but yeah, here's another one. The Grace-Filled Homestead. Listen to this on audio, read by the author, short little excerpts of her life, beautiful moments in the day, things to treasure or enjoy about family time and farm life and the lessons that she's learned along the way. Everyday little moments that were just beautiful and struck her as something wonderful. It really resonated to me that even though it's not the only theme in the story, living example of her faith and the way she talks about it and integrates it into just little moments in the day, I thought it was beautiful and I really loved reading it. Next up we have To Capture His Heart. If you like stories with this kind of tension and acknowledgement of feelings for one another, this is a sequel in a series. We have a female photographer in Victorian England who is building up her career, a gentleman who is an investigator, detective, something along those lines. These 2 are at a house party together. She's supposed to be there in a photographer official capacity. Something happens at the event that requires his investigative skills to kick into full gear. It's exciting. There's mystery, suspense, and also a fantastic romance. Next up we have Complete. This is Friends to Lovers, the end of a series. It is so good. I love this series. I love this author, and she can do no wrong. It's fantastic, and that's all I need to say. It's fantastic. Finding Gene Kelly. This book, I have read it twice. It has great endometriosis rep. Enemies to lovers. He is from her childhood. She moves to France as an adult. Soon enough, they're bumping into one another, agreeing to be fake dates for somebody's wedding, her sister's wedding, her friend's wedding. I don't remember the details, but I do remember the endometriosis rep is fantastic, the romance is fantastic, and the story is just entertaining and adorable and heart-wrenching and all the good things. So definitely a story worth checking out. I'm so glad I did. I should also mention this is an own voices story, so the author herself has endometriosis, and since that's something I have as well, I just really resonated with the story, and it was just so good. So good. Next up we have The Change Up by Megan Cousins. Everything she comes out with is amazing. Her first book is about a character with PCOS. Her second book has to do with a character with arthritis. I loved everything about it. Friends to lovers, they go on a road trip upstate New York to Yellowstone National Park, where the 2 of them both get a summer internship program. So cute. And then also dealing with the ups and downs of meeting new people in a new program. They're in different sectors of different internships. This is a STEM romance, arthritis representation, which the author has as well. I really just thought it was a fantastic Friends to Lovers, lovable, entertaining story from start to finish. This is another great book. You are the girl for the job, and I just loved the overall positive, supportive, faith-integrated stories and messages in this book, and I just really liked listening to the way the author read the book on her audiobook. It talks about confidence, putting yourself out there, really kind of acknowledging what you know, acknowledging where your expertise lies, and being comfortable sharing that with others. So in a small way, it's kind of like what I do on this YouTube channel when I talk about books with you, which I love to do. So I just really thought it was really great. and it was something that just really resonated with me at the time that I read it. For anybody who's looking for any of those themes or just wanting to check it out, I thought it was well worth the 5 stars. Next up, we have A Game of Hearts by Joanna Barker. These are in order of when I read them. So this one came out in October 2022. This is phenomenal enemies to lovers. We have archery, competitiveness, very strong will of the characters who butt heads, have grown up with each other. He, I think, is friends with one of her siblings, so there's also that where he's over and family get-togethers, that kind of thing. But they've never seen eye to eye. They're forced into one another's company on many different occasions, and also they compete against one another with their archery. It is such a good story. If you want something that's going to keep you captivated from start to finish, lots of tension, sucks you in right away, and just makes you not want to put the book down, this is the book for you. Next up is one of the books from the Christmas Escape series with these gorgeous covers. I loved reading this series. They're all different authors, all standalone books. I honestly gave all of these 4 and 5 stars practically. They're all so good. I have 2 from this list. Almost done. 5 more minutes. All right. Thank you. I love you. So we have Host for the Holidays, where we have this woman goes over to France for the Christmas holiday, expecting to have a romantic vacation with her boyfriend, and then he's kind of MIA. He has all these work commitments that come up. She rents this Airbnb. It's not quite what she's hoping for, and she's forced into the company of the guy who's managing the Airbnb. Of course, he just happens to be a handsome bilingual Frenchman who is an English teacher at the local French school. I loved the way that this felt like a love triangle that wasn't a love triangle, because her boyfriend is so MIA, and he really is already emotionally distancing himself from the relationship. This teacher, he kind of introduces her to France, shows her the sights, and the two of them get to know each other in a way that's a lot more real and authentic than what she kind of starts to realize she has with her boyfriend. So we see how that develops. It didn't make me uncomfortable to read, even though it had the love triangle. It was more about finding your worth as a person and what you deserve on your own, as well as in a relationship. And I thought the messages and themes were beautifully handled. The author did a really good job identifying the different cultural shifts between tourists and people who live there. She did a really, really great job of that, and definitely something super entertaining. 3 more left to go. Not So Holiday Paradise. I love this author. Her voice comes along as like funny and quirky, but also real and relatable. This is brother's best friend, stranded in the middle of nowhere, and epilepsy representation, which the author also has epilepsy herself. This makes it another own voices rep, and this is just phenomenal, entertaining, witty, funny, and I could just read this again and again. It's so good, and I cannot wait to read more from this author. The next one is a short book. It's part of a creative series of 3 books, and I thought the last one was really the most hard-hitting, and it's basically 10 ways to maintain your creativity. It's called Keep Going. I listened to this on audio and just really resonated with me about not only getting creative inspiration, but then how to maintain that, how to keep that momentum going when you start to feel like the creativity shifts, or you feel like something isn't clicking the same way it did at the start of a project. It's not about starting it, but okay, once you started, how to keep going. And I really thought it was really powerful, beautifully said, but also very simple and super understandable, relatable, and entertaining for anyone who's looking for that kind of creative momentum, energy, or inspiration to complete projects that they're working on. And anybody who's trying to be creative is probably striving for their best creative work, but at some point we have to say this is what we can do, and making it perfectly imperfect and sharing it with the world is a lot better than keeping it to ourselves. Short, sweet, to the point, has some great messages. All right, the sun is setting, but there are 2 more to go, so the lights are going to have to do. The last 2 here, I mentioned Love on Camera earlier. Now we're going to the 4th and final book in the series, Love in Disguise. Forced proximity, fake dating, kind of hidden identity, because this character, Kit, the last of the Wonder Boys, the brother from Maddie from book 1, he really has presented himself to the world in the way he thinks everyone expects him to be, and now suddenly he has this opportunity to realize who he wants to be instead of feel like keep everything together, managing everyone else. He can just manage himself and relax and be who he wants to be. Someone from his childhood who comes back into his life. They've been apart for almost 20 years. She needs a boyfriend or a fake boyfriend to stand in for a family vacation. So the two go on vacation together with her family. He's also kind of supporting her as she's venturing out in her own business as a bookshop owner. She's figuring out how to move forward with her independent business. Great story, kind of second chance romance, fake dating, and we see great glimpses of the other characters and other couples in the series. So a phenomenal conclusion to this fantastic series. Last but not least, if you have made it this far, bravo. I'm impressed. Nicole Vance, Suffering the Scot. I've been looking for more Scottish romances, and this one just fit the bill. It's the first of a series of 5, so we have these 5 Scottish friends. In this story, we have a gentleman who grew up in Scotland who finds out that he has inherited this earldom in England. So he has to travel to England, deal with the stigma and prejudice from the English family who lives in the home, thinking he's like a Scottish brute instead of a well-educated, intelligent, business-owning gentleman. This is also a great STEM romance. Our main female character in this is very much into minerals and rocks, studying them and collecting them and understanding their different classifications. So this is a really great story, really great romance. A lot of twists and turns in this story, and I really thought it was just super well developed. Characters were developed and really entertaining from start to finish. And it sets you up with a little mystery component that weaves throughout the 5 books in the series. So we get a little bit of that here, enough to feel like we can enjoy the book, sets us up for more if you want to continue the series. So those are my 24 5-star reads. I read a lot of other phenomenal books in 2022. If you liked any of these books, let me know in the comments below. If you've read any of them, let me know. And if you like this video, be sure to give it a like, subscribe to my channel. I say it before, but it really does help my channel grow, and it helps my channel find more viewers. So thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!